Markets were hit yet again with another unexpected post from Donald Trump, and this sent markets into total panic mode as he announced another trade war just over 12 hours ago with none other than the West and the European Union, stating, "I am recommending a straight 50% tariff on the EU starting June 1st, 2025. Yet again, another reason for investors to feel uncertain about the future, and this caused crypto markets to sell off to the tune of $187 billion in a single day. Now, many people have been reaching out and asking if this is a good time to buy the dip, or if they should wait a little longer or avoid the market altogether. So if you hold XRP, Bitcoin, or any other crypto for that matter, then be sure to stick around through the end of this video, because I'm going to dive into the charts to show you some key pivot points and potential targets to look out for. And I'll also use this latest event and announcement from Trump to shed some light on what happens next, how Trump continues to maintain bullishness on crypto. The latest video directly from Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse on ETFs and what this means for the XRP token. Stablecoin legislation from Senator Haggerty on his recent appearance with CNBC, and Ripple's dominance in Europe with their RLUSD stablecoin in their latest article, and what this means for the bond market and the almighty US dollar. Also, if you haven't had the chance to already, head on over to Bull Runners HQ on X or Twitter, which is our official account, to enter for a chance to win $100 worth of XRP. And we do this giveaway every single week. Last week we had one winner, and this week it'll be another directly on Sunday. All you need to do to enter is like the pinned post, comment XRP below, and then subscribe to our daily crypto newsletter at this link right here. The winner will be announced through the newsletter every single week. And yes, it is 100% free to enter, but you do have to follow these steps. Not everyone that actually follows through with one or two of the steps qualifies and actually wins, because you have to do all three steps and we verify. And yes, it's completely random. And as always, my friend, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Paul, and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PAULIEDEFI. Markets really did not take well this morning to one simple post from Donald Trump talking about a 50% tariff on the EU. And when you look at the EU as a whole, it is one of the largest global economies on planet Earth. Yes, there is a lot of trading and manufacturing that happens over there, especially when it comes to vehicles. And just the idea that on June 1st, 50% tariffs will be imposed is quite alarming for many market participants, which caused them to sell much of their portfolios, and markets lost about $187 billion on the day. And right now they're dumping into Friday. I expect them to remain low over the weekend. And Trump even mentioned another thing surrounding smartphones, which are made overseas. And when you really think about it, smartphones are owned by everyone and actually create a lot of jobs internationally, but a lot of that value doesn't find its way into the United States. If anything, a lot of United States consumers are spending the most money on these smartphones, and we're also talking iPhones. So this is like a war on Apple and now Tim Cook, where Donald Trump said he informed Tim Cook that he expects iPhones to be sold and manufactured in the United States. And if that's not the case, he's going to impose a tariff of at least 25% paid by Apple to the United States. He wants all of those jobs back in the United States. And again, market participants don't like this uncertainty right now. But it's not just Apple. So he's not picking and choosing between phone manufacturing companies, as he also said he's going to impose a 25% tariff on Samsung products if they are not made in the United States as well. So this is a very broad-reaching tariff to say if you are going to manufacture phones at all, they need to be manufactured in the United States, especially if you're going to sell them to our citizens. In other words, the trade war is back on, and that trade was actually a really good trade if you bought the bottom of it, considering everyone kind of already priced it in their minds when Trump backed off the trade war for a period of 90 days with many of these major nations as they came to an agreement on deals. However, as of today, the 10-year note or yield on the note crossed again above 4.6%. In other words, this indicates potential recessionary fears or inflationary fears because prices are likely going to go up if these tariffs do come to fruition. Now, this has caused many investors and arguably even analysts to be quite bearish, as he's saying, or in this case, this post is saying Trump wants to lower rates. The Fed will not cut their interest rates, so he's going to get them the hard way. He's going to play hardball and continue to create uncertainty, continue to get markets to drop for a longer bear type scenario, so that will force the Fed's hand. However, I'm not fully in agreement just yet, at least not when it comes to crypto. Although there might not be a full decoupling of the stock market relative to crypto, I do believe we are starting to see the great decoupling between the US dollar and Bitcoin, and in the case of major cryptos like XRP. In other words, Ripple is well ahead of the curve and the game, and here we have the latest video in a 60-second breakdown directly from Brad Garlinghouse. Let's have a watch.
I'm definitely hurt, but also excited that I was overlooked for years before being on here, but now here I am. Hi, I'm Brad Garlinghouse. This is Crypto in 1 minute. 1 minute on why are people excited about crypto ETFs. I think there's two main factors going on here. One is, for the longest time, institutional investors primarily trading on Wall Street, really haven't been able to access crypto directly. Their options were to either self-custody, onboard with an exchange, and some people don't like centralized exchanges for a whole host of reasons. So this was really the first time you had institutions be able to go on Wall Street and trade directly in crypto. This is an unlock for a couple reasons. For capital that couldn't come in, whether it's an endowment, whether it's a pension fund, even mutual funds that didn't or couldn't access crypto, now they can. The second thing is, it really is institutionalizing the entire industry of crypto. I think it should be no surprise that the Bitcoin ETF was the fastest ETF ever to get to $1 billion in assets. I think it passed 10 billion in assets faster than anyone as well. And today I think we'll eventually close in on the gold ETF, and that's
Now, saying it without saying it, maybe they are leaving some breadcrumbs with this video right now in particular surrounding the ETFs because they know what comes next. And that's likely going to be the fact that XRP is one of the major cryptos alongside potentially Solana to be the first in line to get their own spot ETFs in the United States. And this is going to create a lot of institutional demand. And arguably the news event alone is going to drive the price up, especially if we're not completely in a bear market, which again, I don't think we are, even though some analysts believe we are. So imagine an XRP spot ETF alongside the fact that the RLUSD stablecoin is MiCA compliant alongside USDC. And as we've talked about on this channel, Ripple as a company is in the running and in a bid war right now with Coinbase and apparently in the lead to acquire Circle and their USDC stablecoin. And if they basically dominate and control that market, being MiCA compliant to operate in the EU, even with the tariff situation, at the end of the day, they're going to continue to gain dominance, and a lot of that money will find its way into the XRPL and ultimately XRP by default. And so this combined with this major press release around Schumann Financial's Europe becoming the very first MiCA compliant Euro stablecoin, which is now going to be integrated on the XRPL. Again, this is a fully Euro-backed redeemable stablecoin issued by a company called Schumann Financial. And so this does not directly compete with the RLUSD stablecoin or liquidity. If anything, this is actually going to bolster the XRPL because now they're offering the Euro stablecoin over on the XRPL. Either way, I've said it before and I'll say it again, stablecoins are easily one of the best and most predictable business models in all of crypto, and the demand is only going to grow significantly, especially alongside stablecoin legislation. So you have Senator Bill Hagerty on CNBC's Squawk Box talking about this and how they are going to be the largest holders of US treasuries.
But this is a payment mechanism, and not to be confused with Bitcoin or something that has a speculative component. This puts us into a digital payment framework, the fastest rails available, much better than the system developed in the 70s and 80s, which is slow. It takes days to clear.
So the issue, as far as I've always understood the stablecoin issue, is what is backing this stuff, and how much of it's backed by actual treasuries versus cash, versus equities or something else. What does this say about all of that?
It's not going to be equities. It's going to be high quality, short-term assets, either short-term short-term U.S. Treasuries or cash. I think the majority of it will be U.S. Treasuries. In fact, what this will do, and the projections are by 2030, this is according to Citibank, stablecoin issuers will be the largest holders of U.S. Treasuries in the world.
And so when you combine stablecoin legislation and the dominance that the US dollar, or at least the crypto market backed by the US dollar, will provide, even if a lot of that money flows directly into crypto itself, is that this will actually give confidence to institutions and investors to enter crypto markets, because they can know and completely understand that the stablecoin they're trading in for crypto is fully backed 1-to-1 in the dollar. And yes, everywhere around the world, companies and countries still want to hold dollars. Donald Trump knows this, and Donald Trump also wants the US to dominate in crypto, as he's heading to a crypto dinner in Loudoun County tonight in Virginia, where they're going to be talking about everything crypto and Bitcoin and making sure that the US remains dominant. So now what I'm going to do is have a look at the price action. We're going to start with Bitcoin, and we're going to dive into XRP, and then just look at the overall health of the crypto market. Now, going all the way back to the breakout on April 22nd of this year, when we broke above the $88,500 range, which seemed to be a pretty strong resistance and actually never came back to be a support, Bitcoin has consistently been rallying and put in a new all-time high on Coinbase of $112,000 evenly. Now, on the day with all of the uncertainty, we saw virtually no buyers step in above the $111,000 range, and we saw the market dump pretty hard down to $106,800. At the start of the next candle, we're not really seeing that much buying. However, it's important to note that the volume on this single day was actually pretty weak relative to the buy volume that's consistently increasing and growing, which leads me to believe, if anything, this is actually a dip. And so among all of the macro uncertainty, I believe people no longer care about tariffs. In the short term, they might. On the day trading side perspective, they might sell, but in the long term, we don't have that many sellers. As according to Vanguard, markets no longer take tariff threats at face value. And that totally makes sense, because we've seen Donald Trump backtrack on some of these as countries reach out and say, hey, we'd like to work out a new deal. And that's exactly what's happened. So it's unlikely we're actually going to see a 50% tariff here in the near future on June. And if they roll that back and that announcement is made, markets are going to rally hard. So yes, to me, this is looking like a buy to the dip moment, alongside the fact that if I pull up these EMAs right here, you can see that we're consistently bouncing and touching that 10 EMA. If anything, we're right back down to the 10 EMA on a slight retrace. And even if we came down to $103,000, we'd be looking really strong, because this would be our prior support. Again, what used to be our tops is now going to become our support. So if anything, this is actually just a healthy little retrace, and this is actually going to show up in the rest of the crypto market. When I look at something like XRP has been lagging Bitcoin by quite a bit. However, it did bottom somewhere down here at the $2 range. So let me go ahead and take this tool right here from about $2.05 all the way to $2 and even $1.95 on those wicks. Generally speaking, this was a really strong support with a bear trap. And yes, we were trading above the 10 and 20 EMA. We've consistently been playing in this range for a little while. Today's news was not great. However, we are touching back down into a range that I did tell our Altcoin Pro University members about and to watch out for, that this would be a good time to accumulate. And so now I'm going to be telling you, at the $2.30 range, you can see that we have a decent amount of support for what used to be a resistance. And this is a pretty strong support, especially if I zoom out and pull up that VRVP. You can see, although we're not directly above our range resistance, we do have another major support in this range here. So this is our last range of support before we come back down to the 2 level, and I just don't see that happening if Bitcoin continues to trend. Although XRP might lag, I would thoroughly expect some buyers to step in, get us back above the 240 range, and anything above 240 will likely allow for us to break out above the 260 range into at least $3. And this would be my very first target, the $3 range from 230. So if you took just this play, okay, from here all the way up up to, let's say, 295, that's still a 27% gain. And if you trade on a bit of leverage, it's even better. And again, it's important to note that when you look at volume was well below average in these ranges from April 20th to May 7th. At this point in time, though, you're starting to see a major expansion to the buy side on volume, which leads me to believe that even with these last couple of days being bigger, you can see that we have smaller and weaker volume bars on the red days, including this day. So although we have yet to break for some new all-time highs, it's just taking a little longer to rally and move than Bitcoin, arguably because that first 500 and some % move through the end of the year exhausted some of the buyers on XRP. There was no new cash or capital to enter XRP. Now it's built a very long, strong range going all the way back to December of last year into basically this summer. So things lead me to believe that if this trend continues and we are in an intermediate term uptrend again, in a longer term uptrend, that things are looking really good. That downtrend ended with the low right here in April. And now in hindsight, it's easy to say that this was our major low unless some other major macroeconomic events trash Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. With Bitcoin, however, looking as good as it does, I thoroughly expect XRP to rally for some new all-time highs here in the near future. And that's it for the video, folks. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe and also check out Altcoin Pro University by going to altcoinpro.com. You can find the link in the bio or in the pinned post and comment directly below, but you have to make sure it's from the bull runners. And we are going to provide you with all the right tools, training, and resources to succeed this crypto bull market, especially as some of these altcoins really start to rally and pop off. And more importantly, if you're going to sit on crypto, you might as well be earning yield on it. So yes, the membership is $97 a month, and yes, we have close to 1,000 members, and we've consistently maintained all of those members because we help them earn their money back. It's as straightforward and simple as that. In this week's new DeFi yield opportunity, we call these our quick win DeFi yields, where our goal is to help you to put your crypto to work for you to earn the cost of your membership back in one of these yield farms in a very safe manner. You can earn UXRP, which is essentially a wrapped XRP, to the tune of 100%. And obviously that's variable depending on the range that you do. But we have one of our DeFi yield experts, researchers, and analysts making these videos for you directly to show you step by step how to take advantage of this on little money. By the way, we've had many members with between $1,200 all the way up to $5,000 in crypto use these yield farms to pay for the cost of their membership, which means everything else is smooth sailing. And every single Tuesday, I host a technical analysis call live where I show you step by step how to think and approach markets, how to do charts, how to use common and basic indicators. And this upcoming week on Tuesday, I'm going to be teaching people how to set their stop losses, their take profits, how to set a trailing stop, and all of these other things, like to know exactly when to get out of a market in case things go sour. But the list of value here is truly endless alongside other airdrop deals and altcoin picks. So if any or all of that sounds interesting to you and you want to head over to even just the classroom, for example, and check out our technical analysis essentials course that I did myself with a ton of training and resources, you can come in here and you can see that I show you how to use TradingView, how to use common drawing tools, how to use and look and think about candlesticks, bullish and bearish patterns, and even indicators like RSI, moving averages, Bollinger Bands. Everything you need to know to become a total pro on the charts is right here at Altcoin Pro University. So thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to go to altcoinpro.com. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Until next time, my friend, goodbye.